Sports Talk, the Monday after. We come to you from the Dave and Buster studio in downtown Columbia. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblut, Pat Daniel here, coming off our trips over the weekend. I was at Kentucky. Pat went up to Boston to cover Clemson. Chris Bergen will be with us in just a moment as well. He's already made his way to the upstate because he's headed to Dabo Sweeney's press conference in the morning as the Tigers get ready to take on Florida State in Tallahassee on Saturday night. So what'd you think about the weekend? Love to hear from you. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number here on Sports Talk. We'll get you on the air here in just a couple of minutes after we talk about a few things and hear what you have to say about the weekend. South Carolina, Kentucky. Of course, Gamecocks got a upset victory for them, and they did a lot of good things. Didn't play all that great in the first half. Very similar to Clemson. Didn't play all that great in the first half, but really turned it on in the second half and pretty much dominated the game in the second half statistically and on the scoreboard. And the Gamecocks get for them their first SEC victory, an SEC road win, and a 3-game winning streak. And they're going to go, like a month without losing because they've got an off week this week before they play Texas A&M in Columbia, 7:30 for that Texas A&M game, 7:30 in a couple of weeks. So that should be a pretty wild atmosphere in Columbia once again, because that's a game the Gamecocks can certainly win, and they can check off another box because A&M's a team they've never beaten. And so if you're Shane Beamer and you're building your program, it's these little things, it's taking care of the things that weren't being done previously, like beating Kentucky, second time in 9 meetings the Gamecocks have beaten Kentucky, and now you get Texas A&M. But, I thought the Gamecocks played in the second half offensively pretty good. I thought some of the calls that Marcus Satterfield made were pretty good, and they resulted in some good plays. I thought Rattler settled in the second half and was composed and in the pocket and handled his business pretty well. They got some good runs out of Marshawn Lloyd. They had some big plays. They had some nice catches. And defensively, and let's be honest here now, let's just be honest, Kentucky was not Kentucky offensively without their quarterback. Okay, you cannot overlook the fact that they were without an excellent quarterback. Any team without their excellent quarterback is going to struggle offensively, and I think we all know that. Now, it helps to have a quarterback who's prepared to step in and maybe try to keep the offense going some way. And Sharon, did what he could, but that was his first time. That was his first opportunity to run that offense. So the Gamecock defense was able to take advantage of that. They were able to get some sacks. They played with reckless abandon. Linebackers were excellent. They were able to man up in the secondary and get coverage. They got another interception. That's 8 interceptions in the last 3 games for the Gamecocks. So they've done very well from that standpoint. And that's a good win for them. It goes in the record book 28-14. Doesn't say anything else about who played and who didn't play. And keep in mind, to be honest, the Gamecocks were without, 3 defensive starters, not counting the 2 who were out for the season, talking about the 3 who've been iffy, Huntley and the 2 safeties. So they were down some people too, and they were down a backup offensive lineman, and they were down a wide receiver. So they had their injuries to deal with as well. It all evens out over time, the injury situation. So South Carolina doesn't have to apologize for the fact that they won and the Kentucky quarterback wasn't there. They could care less. In fact, a Gamecock fan, we retweeted this, put out a terrific video and is about going back to SEC media days and the video that was produced for Shane Beamer and the sunglasses and the singing and the dancing.
Oh, that was priceless.
Yeah. And then, of course, Mark Stoops had something to say about that during his time at SEC media days. And who got the last laugh here? I called it, I retweeted it and called it the Gamecocks pouring salt into that old Kentucky wound. And and look, I mean, you win, you dance. That's just the bottom line in today's college football world. But it's not so much today. I was thinking about it. It's not. You go back to the Danny Ford days at Clemson. They might have been one of the first, maybe, to party in the locker room after winning games. You would stand next to the Clemson locker room of the 80s with Danny Ford, and they'd be hooting and hollering. I don't know if they had any music blasting, but handing out cigars and things like that after certain wins. So it's not all that new. It's just gone to a different level here in the world of social media and video. So good win for the Gamecocks. Now they got 2 weeks to get ready for Texas A&M, and they will enjoy their 3 days of practice this week, and then they'll enjoy their weekend off, and then they'll get serious for Texas A&M. Texas A&M also has the weekend off, so this should be 2 rested teams and 2 well-prepared teams. You got to give Texas A&M credit. They took Alabama to the wire, but Alabama was playing without their starting quarterback. But then again, A&M is playing without the guy who became their starting quarterback. They've gone back to their original starting quarterback. So the injuries are biting everybody, it seems, in college football today. So that's the look from my standpoint on the Gamecocks. After the game, things that you couldn't see if you weren't there, boy, they were emotional. Beamer he choked up 2-3 times in his post-game media session, got caught up in the emotions of knowing that 2 years ago during a loss to Kentucky, he was home in Norman, Oklahoma, and he got the phone call from Ray Tanner offering him the job. And then it wasn't lost upon him, nor Spencer Rattler, that about a year ago, Rattler was benched during the Oklahoma-Texas game, and that led to his transfer to USC.
They could have used him Saturday.
Well, could they? And the fact that they are getting their brains beat out now, would he be making the difference there? Who knows? But he's at South Carolina now. These things were brought up by Beamer, and he's a guy that truly wears his emotions on his sleeve. And I think just the fact that his guys went on the road and beat a nationally ranked team pretty solidly, it's the emotions of people not believing in him still, and he's having to win people over practically every game. They see a guy who's a great cheerleader and a great voice for the program, and a guy who's a relentless recruiter, and a guy who's 45 years old, but he'll come across as a teenager to you with the way he handles the videos and all that kind of stuff. And when you go out and you get a win like that, it sort of supports what you're doing. And I think it hits home with him that he gets a win like that. It kind of supports what he's trying to do at South Carolina, a completely different approach to South Carolina, I think, than what they've ever had before. When you consider in modern times, you've had the Hall of Fame coaches like Spurrier and Holtz, and then you had the retread coach like Muschamp, and now they've gone in the direction of a young guy with no resume as being a head coach, and every win is a significant victory for him. All right, Pat, you were up in Boston. You know who you just
described, Bill, before you get to Pat? You
Yeah.
know who you just described? Everything you just said, if you insert Dabo Sweeney's name instead of Shane Beamer, it's the exact blueprint, exact game plan.
Exactly, yeah. All right, Pat, you were up in Boston, kind of a similar deal. The Tigers were not great for about, the first 15, 20, 25 minutes. Then they, like Dabo likes to talk about, the 8-minute stretch, last 4 of the first half, first 4 of the second half. They took that game by the throat, and that defense, they were relentless. They never really let BC get much going on the offensive side.
That's right, Phil. And Clemson initially came out hot. The opening drive, I think a lot of folks, we kind of looked at each other in the press box like, for Boston College, because Clemson came out clicking on all cylinders, but a costly Bo Collins drop in the end zone of what would have been a touchdown on the opening drive then led to a field goal for the Tigers. And after that was really about it for offense from either team until Clemson's final drive of the half, when they were able to kind of march down the field and finally get into the end zone. But you know what set all that up was Will Taylor had his issues returning punts. He had 2 muffs on the day. I believe that made 4 on the season. Antonio Williams, on the other hand, he had that final return of the first half, and he returned it 20 yards to about I think it was the 28, 29-yard line of Boston College. They were then able to punch it in with just a multitude of runs. Will Shipley had a 1-yard touchdown run. And then opening the second half, Clemson was able to keep that momentum going. And this play was done through the air primarily. DJ Uyunglele looked very confident throwing the ball. He kept going back to his former high school teammate, Bo Collins, kind of putting that drop in the rearview mirror. And from there, it was a totally different game. The offense started clicking a little bit better. But Wes Goodwin deserves a ton of credit. That was the best, hands down, the best the defense has looked all season. Yes, you could point to the NC State game, especially the second half, and they looked great then. But this one, you still were missing Brian Brzee on the line, but you had a return of Xavier Thomas in there, and he just gave them a spark defensively. And the corners, we all picked them apart against Wake Forest, deservedly so. But in this game, they are showing that they're getting better and better each week, more and more experience, even with those young guys. And they were able to shut down the passes for a majority of the game, and then rushing the ball. Like you said, I think the total rushing yards, where was it? I had this in front of me. Well, I don't have it in front of me now. But point being, the defense was fantastic against the run all game long. They were just stuffing anything, and they made Boston College one-dimensional all day. And that really led a lot of the momentum for the Tigers.
One more thing on South Carolina. Of course, they got the very quick turnover in the first play of the game. Kentucky tried to throw a little trick play in there, and the Gamecocks broke it up, and Hemingway scooped and almost scored, and then they scored on the very first play. But then they blocked another kick. What a job they are doing. Pete Limbo, tell you what, I don't know if South Carolina can keep him. He's not just a special teams guru. You know, he was a terrific head coach at Catawba, a guy known for real creative offensive thinking. And he's making another name for himself with this special teams. It's not just so much you block a kick here and there. And now every team they face has to really think about it. They really have to spend time in their protection, lining up for field goals and field goals and extra points and punts, because they're getting
they blocked
through.
5 kicks?
Yeah, 5 or 6
already this season.
Yeah, 5 or 6, pretty incredible. Okay, while we were there, Kentucky and up in Boston, Lexington, Kentucky, pretty sophisticated place. Boston, a fairly sophisticated place. You were where?
Great
Monroe,
setup, Phil.
Louisiana?
Great setup. And I got heckled on the sidelines.
For what?
For the first time in my career.
I mean, did they know your name?
No. They actually did some homework on the players. Fortunately, didn't know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
But if those of you watching on StreamYard, you can see I wear wired headphones. And to be able to listen to Joe and Lane on the sidelines, we've got a device that transmits their audio down to me on the field. And it also requires wired headphones instead of the wireless stuff that everybody has and pretty much is a permanent staple in most people's ears now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's at Malone Stadium in Monroe, Louisiana, big facility, way too big for them. Seats 30,000. They may have had 3,000 at the game. But nonetheless, there is literally no room on the sidelines. There's probably 30 feet from where the stands end to where the field starts. So I'm having to weave my way through traffic to get back and forth up and down the field on the sidelines, have to dodge the players. And of course, the student section, it's unique there. All of their students sit behind the visiting bench, which makes for an interesting home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was meandering through the students, or excuse me, the players during the first quarter, I happened to hear somebody saying that I am so broke, and I'm cleaning up some of his vulgar language for a family-oriented show. I am so broke that I cannot afford wireless AirPods. So yeah, first time I'd ever been heckled on the sidelines before. So,
you're so broke,
I think my career has
wireless headsets. That's funny. All right, now
I think my career has reached its zenith, Phil.
What about the performance of the shots? We're going to play this in a little bit because it's pretty classic. Jamie Chadwell. I mean, he has really, in his post-game interviews with you, he has really been edgy. And he was very edgy after the game Saturday night.
Well, they came out in the first half. They scored on 4 of their first 5 possessions of the ball game, and it looked like going into halftime at 28-14, it was going to be one of those 56-35 type shootouts, and you had to score every time you touched the football. So Coastal goes in up by 2 scores at halftime and thinking, all right, guys, we got to get it together. We've got to continue, and defense, you've got to do something. You got to help us out a little bit. Second half, the script flips. ULM got the opening kickoff of the second half. They marched down the field and score. And the rest of the game, neither offense punched it into the end zone. It was 28-21 early in the third. No other points put up on the board. It was one of the more remarkable games I've ever seen. because in the first half, Coastal's offense was unstoppable and their defense was shaky and their special teams not very good. Second half, their offense was not very good. Their special teams was worse and their defense was outstanding. I've never seen a tale of two halves more descriptive than what we saw on Saturday night. But to Coastal's credit, they found a way to win that ball game and remain undefeated. And now it's not as big a deal at a place like Clemson where they expect to go to the playoffs. But, when the Tigers get bowl eligible and South Carolina gets bowl eligible, we kind of celebrate that a little bit. But this is now the third consecutive year that Coastal's gotten bowl eligible, and they're 6-0 to start a season for the third straight year. So they're quietly doing what they're supposed to, and they've got Old Dominion on homecoming coming up Saturday. Then they get their bye. So they may be 7-0 going into their bye week.
Wow. Another great run by Jamie Chadwell. Is this the farewell song for him as this season plays out with the jobs that are opening up around the country? We shall see on that. All right. We've given you a little bit of an overview, our takes on the games that we were at, and we'd love to hear from you if you were there at any of the games or you watched it on the tube or you rewatched it, whatever the case may be. Phone number 888-898-2525. That's the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. More than 2.1 million lottery-funded scholarships, such as Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow scholarships, have been awarded to South Carolina students. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Okay, baseball playoffs, of course, night off. We said goodbye to the pretenders over the weekend. Goodbye Rays, goodbye Blue Jays, goodbye Cardinals, and oh yeah, goodbye Mutts. There's one king of baseball in the Big Apple. Always has been, always will be. Just remember. And they'll take the field tomorrow night against the Guardians. Looking forward to it. Your phone call's coming up after the break here on Sports Talk.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
Life insurance isn't for you. It's for those you love the most. For a complete insurance review, call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, serving Lawrence, Clinton, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Score a touchdown with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Relax with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Of course, the big news around here today, not involving South Carolina teams per se, but the Panthers firing Matt Rule as their head coach after another dismal performance, another loss yesterday, this time to the 49ers. So they'll go in a different direction once again. They continue to try to find the recipe, the right answer. And who knows? Look at the Giants. The Giants beat the Packers. They're 4-1. They've gone through several coaches in recent years. Maybe they've got the right guy now. Daniel Jones, their quarterback, Panthers can't seem to solve the quarterback situation no matter who they plug in there. So that's maybe the most important thing to fix is somebody who can play winning quarterback for them. Maybe they should have stuck with Teddy Bridgewater back in the day. Who knows? But whatever they've been trying just hasn't been working there in Charlotte with the Panthers as they continue to lose, and now they will move in another direction with the next head coach. Okay, we got a
Phil, I will
full
say this,
board.
and this I just wanted to get in this real quick. One other thing that the Panthers need to do, it's not going to make many Panthers fans happy. They need to trade Mr. McCaffrey. They need to build draft capital. It's time to move him. He's the only commodity they've got worth a darn, especially offensively. Go ahead and start building some draft capital. They've got to take this down to the studs and start from scratch.
Yeah,
because Matt Rule was an absolute disaster, and Baker Mayfield's not much better.
Yeah.
So they've got to take it all the way down to the studs and start from scratch and accept the fact they're probably going 2-15 for the next couple of years just to build for the future.
All right.
Chris, out of curiosity, not to jump in there, Phil, but offensively, totally see that. Do you think they'll take the same approach defensively as well, or so much of that core is young on that side of the ball? Do you think they may keep that core together?
I think they need to address. I hope they don't mess with the defense. My fear is they're going to go and get a defensive-minded coach, which is not what they need. They need to have somebody who put points on the board. I mean, yesterday's game when the 49ers got to 17 points, it was over. Under Rule, they've lost 26 games. They're like 1-26 when the opponent scored 17 or more. That's a remarkable stat. Shows you how bad they are at quarterback and on offense. They've got to address that side of the football with the coaching, hiring, and everything else they do to get a quarterback in there that can move that team.
All right, let's get to the phones. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Hank in Columbia, batting leadoff this week. Hank, welcome in. How are you?
Doing fine, Corn. Weeks ago we talked about it, and Chuck Reed talked about it, that he thought Marshawn Lloyd could be a pretty good back if they ever gave him enough touches for him to get lathered up. And, if people talk about the game the other night with the Kentucky quarterback, but remember, even with Will Levis, he had been sacked 19 times going into that game with the likes of Youngstown State and all those. And so if you put a hobble him back there, the way the D-line was getting after it the other night, I don't know how much you're going to have any different result. The biggest thing I thought was good for Carolina was everybody was saying that it didn't matter who they went back there because Kentucky's always run it down their throat. And Rodriguez, he got some yardage, but it seemed like whenever he would get like a 7 or 8 yard run, that next run he would get stopped. And they did a good job of game tackling. So they put Kentucky in a slew of 3rd and longs when they just wouldn't let them just run wild.
Yeah, their average third down play, as I recall from my report, their average third down snap was 10.6 yards per third down.
Yeah,
and something else that South Carolina did well, the Gamecocks did well on first down. Their first down yardage was excellent, and it put them in situations where they had manageable second and third downs, and they converted well on third down. So, if you're able to avoid those long third downs, it makes a difference for you.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I liked about it was there were points that Carolina left on the board in the first half, even if you took the 7 out, that were there. And there's been teams before when they got to 7-7 going to halftime, you think Kentucky's at home, and Stoops felt pretty good. But when Carolina came back out after half, that offense with Lloyd running the ball, that opened up so much for their those other guys and those playmakers. And I think it shows some people that always talk about South Carolina talent, that if you get the talent in positions, they could run, because Wells ran away from 2 or 3 guys, and the other receiver,
Brooks,
yeah, Brooks that came up from Wingate that everybody talked about a couple years ago and said, it's just a transfer up that couldn't make it. He looked very much like a dude getting nice.
Yeah, they both have kick in their giddy up, and they showed it. And I'm liking what Rattler's doing now. Look at his numbers. He's up to about 66% completion. He's just got to cut down on the INTs. He threw up another bad pick on Saturday night. Be back after break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy skies with the low temp dipping to 58. Tomorrow, a great-looking fall day with sunshine all day and a high temp of 74. Looking ahead, the best chance for a rain day comes on Thursday. It's early, but the weekend looks great with sunny skies ahead and high temps in the low 70s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting a judge has delayed a looming trial between Twitter and Elon Musk. The move gives the Tesla CEO more time to close his $44 billion deal to buy the social media company after months spent fighting to get out of it. Chancellor Kathleen St. Jude McCormick, head of the Delaware Chancery Court, said Thursday that Musk and Twitter have until October 28th to close the deal. She said that a trial set for October 17th will happen in November if they don't. This year's Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences has been awarded to former U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Ben Bernanke and two other U.S.-based economists. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 93 points, the Nasdaq dropped 110, the S&P 500 lower by 27. Oil dropped $1.51 to $91.13 a barrel. This is SRN News.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
I'm already a big fan of Medicare Blueprint. Tim and his team saved me several $1,000s. They took a look at my health insurance. They helped me get the best possible plan. But not long ago, I reached out when we had a crisis. The big bad insurance company out of nowhere just canceled mom's medicine for her multiple sclerosis. No warning, 30 years, same med, and just like that, gone. Here's the good news. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. They're local. Imagine me trying to get this fixed, calling some national toll-free number. Outsourced operators never talk to the same person twice. Medicare Blueprint went to work, helped me get mom's meds back, and how's this? Even less expensively than we were paying before. Incredible customer service and local. What a great formula. Oh, and it cost me nothing for their services. Nothing. Whether you're on Medicare or not, my mom is, I'm not. Medicare Blueprint helped both of us. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
Hey, I'm State Representative Chris Wooten. And I'm State Representative Micah Cassidy. Join us on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. on The Rep.
We'll talk about everything that's happening in the State House and give you an insider's perspective.
All from the General Assembly. So join us at 9 a.m. on The Point, 100.7 FM or 1470 a.m.
Gas prices, grocery prices, inflation has hit us all, and it's caused the Fed to raise interest rates. As a result, after historically low mortgage rates for what seemed like forever, interest rates for a mortgage have jumped in recent months. Fran Halloran here. Let me make something clear to you. Mortgage rates are rising. They may continue to rise as the Fed tries to get a grip on inflation. What hasn't changed is the incredible customer service you'll get from Greg McCoy and Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Greg can't control interest rates. He can, however, control fees. With rates on the rise, now more than ever, you need to know you're getting the very best deal. Greg will make sure of that. He's more than just a mortgage guy. Greg McCoy is your trusted advisor. You might be surprised to learn how much Simplified Mortgage and Greg McCoy can do to help you with your biggest financial investment. Not sure? Have questions? Give Greg a call at Simplified Mortgage, 803-722-6044, or find him online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com. Greg McCoy, NMLS 119871.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
Okay, we're back. It's the Monday after here on Sports Talk Media Network. Phone number 888-898-2525. We come to you from the Dave & Buster's studio in Columbia. Eat, drink, play. Catch all the big games all season long. Monday Night Football tonight at Dave & Buster's. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, Myrtle Beach. Enjoy yourself. Have a great meal. Have some fun and watch all the sports that you can take in. At Dave & Buster's, you know it's a great place. And get by there and enjoy yourself. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Delvin in Fountain Inn. One line is open. If you want to join us, 888-898-2525. Delvin, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing today?
Terrific.
Yeah. Couple things. Hughes went for South Carolina to get a win on the road against a top 25 team, and now you go in the bye week with a fresh reset, and they come out in the second half. It's 0-0 now. You 0-0 now with a new game plan coming out the second half after your bye week. As far as Clemson defense goes, ask Brent Venables, do you want that defense now after what's going on with Oklahoma?
Ooh. Ooh. You know, people are jumping on Venables, and you know he might turn out to be a dud as a head coach. Who knows? But man, you got to give him more time. Yeah, they've been awful the last couple of games. They played without their quarterback. Not that would have made much of a difference, but you know, ask Texas what it's like to have your top quarterback back. You know, Ewers certainly made a big difference for them Saturday. But let's give Venables a chance and see what he can do. He's just gotten there. He lost his quarterback, and I don't know who else. He lost his quarterback. He lost his tight end. We know that. Not sure what else he lost from that team that he inherited. But let's see what he can do over the next year or two and then make a judgment. But people are just already piling on him, saying he's going to be a complete failure as a head coach at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he got, like you said, he got his recruits in, and most of half the team left went to USC, basically, with the Southern Cal, basically, so to speak. Basically, that what happened.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens when he gets some fresh blood in there. Thank you, Delvin. Appreciate the phone call. 888-898-2525. We continue on the phone lines. Jim in Duncan. Jim, welcome into Sports Talk. How you doing, buddy?
Thank you, Phil. I'm doing well. Just wanted to make a couple comments. I was glad to see that XT got at least those 6 snaps in on the trip that he flew up to Boston with the team. Seemed like he's getting back in the flow. Hopefully they can start to utilize him more than just on third down, but I understand the philosophy there. What I was concerned about, Phil, maybe just comment on this, is seems like going into Florida State this week, if we have a slow start like we did this past week with Boston College, that will kind of I don't know if we can survive that way with Florida State being as much improved as they are. And I just wanted to know, do you know if we're going to get any other players back potentially next week in the secondary specifically? And I know that I'm a little concerned also with just Shipley and Maffa being the only 2 backs that we have currently. I know Florida State looks like they might be missing a back, but I haven't heard that either. But anyway, enjoy the show, Phil. Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, Trayshawn Ward was in a hospital bed after getting hurt against NC State. I think it was a foot injury or something like that for him. And Mike Norvell said, I think that they don't know yet about his status for Saturday. As far as Clemson goes, Pat, you were up there with the Tigers and listened to Dabo Swinney. Also updated some things last night. But what was it that he said afterwards about getting some of these guys back?
Well, first of all, Nate Wiggins, who, remember, was just eviscerated against Wake Forest, he stepped in admirably and played really well. I know that doesn't directly answer your question, but he at least showed a lot of progress. They had Xavier Thomas back. We found out today Brian Brzee will be back this year. I know you asked about the back end, but at least with the front 7, that will significantly help as well. Sheridan Jones, we don't know yet for sure whether he'll be back or not, but I do know that he is making strides, so they hope to maybe have him back this week as well. Aside from that, they've been fairly coy with the status of some of these other guys on the back end of that. I would not anticipate seeing Venables back. We still don't know just how bad his injury was, but I believe it was announced to be a concussion. So he'll have to
Was it a moped incident?
A moped accident. So he'll have to go through all the protocols.
Clemson players and their mobile vehicles. You know, they just. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah, it is just. And I think that news actually, at least for those of us up in the press box, we first found out about that from his dad, Brent Venables. in his post-game press conference after the Red River Showdown or whatever against Texas, where they got just destroyed, he actually mentioned his son being involved in a moped accident. So that was how we first heard about it.
Yeah, I think Tiger Illustrated, as they do, they hinted about a player being absent, a defensive player who was not going to play, but they didn't say who. I guess they couldn't go far enough with their information to put that out there. But they did report that, I think, on Saturday morning, that there was a player. It might have been Friday night, Saturday morning. They reported that a player was going to miss the game for an undisclosed reason by them. But you're right. Venables then came out and said something. I guess he was trying to deflect the attention off his butt just getting whooped by Oklahoma by saying, yeah, you're piling on me, but my son was hurt in a moped accident, and I'm more concerned about that. I don't know what his purpose was for bringing that up.
I saw some of the pictures. Tyler messed up. He cut his face pretty badly in that accident, so it was not anything to sneeze about. And has there ever been a greater return on investments than what Xavier Thomas put forth on Saturday? 6 snaps, 2 sacks, and forced fumble. ACC player, defensive lineman of the week.
Yeah,
I'm not sure any player in the history of the ACC has earned any Player of the Week honors playing fewer snaps than Xavier Thomas did on Saturday.
And I'll tell you, Chris, the reason I brought up Nate Wiggins a few minutes ago was the coaches were celebrating him and his progress after the game because of how well he was playing and the other corners on the back end. It allowed for Wes Goodwin to kind of get away from that zone we've seen the last few weeks and go back to playing mainly man defense. And that front four was able to just pin their ears and just go after the quarterback. And they lived in the backfield all day long. And yes, I think many people would like to see Xavier Thomas on the field on first and second down as opposed to mainly on third. But if you can bring in a guy like that, a weapon like that on third down, and all you have to tell him is pin your ears back and just go for the quarterback, that's a heck of an addition on that front four.
All right, phone number 888-898-2525. Trayshawn Ward, no privacy in the world anymore, but he put this out himself. He sent out a picture, I guess, on his Instagram of him in a hospital room wearing a hairnet, leading people to believe that he had some kind of surgery after the NC State game. And they're not saying what part of the body was worked on. Thought I had read where it was a lower body, ankle, foot type thing. Could be something else. But whatever the case may be, he is very questionable for Saturday for Clemson. And besides him, they really haven't had another running back to step up. Here's a note on Florida State, too. 32 explosive run plays this year on offense for them, 12th most in the FBS, number 1 in the ACC. The Noles here, this is from David Hale of ESPN. The Noles have 20 designed runs longer than the longest Clemson has allowed all year. So they do have some explosion in their offense, but if Ward is out, that's certainly going to hurt the explosive part of that offense. Brian Bresee, by the way, he put on his Instagram today that he'll be back after missing the last 2 games. So it looks like you can plug him back in to the Clemson defensive line. A few other quick notes. Clemson, 6-0, back in the AP top 4. This is our poll question of the week. 6-0 at the halfway point. How many of their final 6 regular season games will the Tigers win? Is that a softball question or what? 90 votes
out of the park.
90 votes are in this afternoon. I didn't get this question up till this afternoon. 55.6% say they'll win all of them. 24.4% say they'll win 4 of them. 20% say they'll win 24.4% say they'll win 5 of them. And then 20% say they'll win 4 of them. I didn't go any lower than 4 on the selections there. Tennessee starting defensive back Jalen McCullough arrested, charged with felony assault. You mentioned that Clemson's defensive end Thomas is the ACC Defensive Lineman of the Week. USC's Javon Gwynn is the SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. And that Clemson-Syracuse game. Here again, what is the ACC thinking? This could very well be the game for the division. Mm-hmm. And they're playing at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock kickoff.
Makes 0 sense.
That makes no sense. Why is that not your primo game that night? This is the second time. Now, the Wake Forest game was a 12 o'clock kickoff, as I recall. What are they? They must be showing some North Carolina basketball highlights at 8 o'clock that night. It's all I can think of with this SEC. I'm ACC. That's just ridiculous. And let's see. What else I want to mention here before we go to our next phone calls? Told you that. Oh, Spencer Strider. Who would have thought when he was at Clemson, he'd become a $75 million pitcher? That's what he got from the Braves today. $75 million contract after his huge rookie campaign. $75 million, a deal that runs through 2028. So congrats to him, man, going out and getting his money.
And Phil, that
And if he
deal
threw his heart,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, Pat, if he threw his heart at Clemson as he is now, he would have been. Everybody would have thought $75 million man. But on the flip side, he wouldn't have played at Clemson either. So he has developed into just a dominant pitcher, especially with that fastball. And you start to wonder because who might the Braves add to help out that rotation if necessary going into next season, and what are they going to do with Dansby Swanson? Those will be the two big offseason questions for the Braves.
Averaging 13.8 strikeouts per 9, the highest by a rookie pitcher in MLB history. All right, let's hit the break, and we'll come back and get more of your phone calls in. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk as we come to you from the Dave and Buster studio here in downtown Columbia. We'll continue with your phone calls. Shrine Bowl coach Jerry Brown, a little bit after 7 o'clock. 1st and 10 with Zach Willis, a little bit after 7:30. Got some recruiting for you as well. It's a full show. It's the Monday after. Don't leave us. Back in a moment.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Think big, life-changing. I'm talking education, inventive, next-level education. Wake up. For 20 years, education has received billions in funding. Where, you ask? Right here, across our state, in your own backyard. Who has done this? Well, if you've ever played the lottery, that would be you. Thank you. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef. It's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
Now, I've been waiting for this one. Put the balls up, put the bats away, pack your cleats. Mets, you're off for vacation. Enjoy going fishing. Andy, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'll tell you what. My Mets bit the big one. So
that's the best you got?
Had our chances.
That's all you got? They stunk. They sucked. They were home.
It wasn't just
blew
those
it
3 games.
to a team that was,
games.
finished 40 games out of first place in their division.
It wasn't just those.
The Padres.
Games. We got swept by the Cubs 2 weeks earlier. Okay, at home. Let's all put this in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just those 3 games. This team coming down the stretch was terrible, and it showed.
Mm-hmm.
Scherzer, I think, had a problem. I don't think DeGrom's right, but, we bit the big one and we lost it. Now, Chris asked a question. Who's going to be filling in that extra rotation? I heard this at the beginning of the year. If Jake DeGrom, which they say he's going to do, does his opt out, he wants to play in Atlanta.
Yep. I didn't want to bring that up, Andy, but that's the name.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that until the Mets were done. But that's what the word is, which means the Mets will have money to go and get Aaron Judge to put in center field because Mr. Nemo is going to leave New York.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll see a trade between Judge and Nemo.
So you think the Yankees are going to let Judge walk across the street to the Mets? You think that's going to happen?
Well, do you think they have as much money as Steve Cohen?
I don't know, but they'll find a way.
I can answer that no.
I can tell you one thing. I mean, they
Exactly.
might stomach losing him to the Angels or the Dodgers, or the Giants back where he lives. They're not going to lose him to the Mets. They're not going to lose Aaron Judge to the crosstown team. They'll pay whatever it has to be paid to keep that from happening. You can mark that down.
I got 3 questions for you there, Mr. Korn.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Chapman? I mean, he just didn't show up or was late for workouts.
He did not show up for the workout. They gave the players, after they finished up at Texas, the players could go home on their own. They had to be in New York for a workout on Friday. He didn't show. And so they said, don't show. I mean, he's not out for the entire playoffs. If they make it to the ALCS, they could bring him back. He's just been basically suspended by the team for the ALDS.
Okay, so he's just off the division, not completely off the roster.
Not completely off the roster for the playoffs. Though they're
okay.
They'll see if they make it past the Guardians, and who knows, if they make it past the Guardians and their bullpen looks decent, they might not even bring him back.
They won't, because the Guardians are full of ex-Mets for the Lindor trade. 2 more questions for you. Well, 1 statement and 1 question. My statement is this. Is Mr. Venables going to be following in the footsteps of one of my favorite old defensive coordinators, Ellis Johnson?
You mean one and done?
Yes, sir.
I would think not. I would think not. I would think the people of Oklahoma like him well enough to give him a chance.
Didn't they like Ellis pretty much at Southern Miss?
Well, Ellis inherited a bit of a mess there. New president. I'm not sure if the AD was new, but I think the president was new. Not even sure the president who came in was the guy that hired him. I don't remember exactly. And I don't like asking Ellis about that.
Why not? Ellis is living at Debedu pretty nicely on it.
No, he's left Debedu. He's back in Columbia, but he lived in Debedu. Mm-hmm.
I know he bought him a place in Debedu.
Yeah, he did.
That. Yeah, so I mean I'll put it to you this way: I'd go and coach for a year and let him kick me out and send me to Debedu for free. That would be no problem with me.
I'm sure the buyout is huge at Oklahoma. If it were to come to that, I just can't see it coming to that. I mean, Oklahoma's not that stupid to start firing a coach after 1 year, especially somebody with the reputation of Venables. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. I mean, look, he brought in a high-profile offensive coordinator. Certainly they can get things figured out. Certainly they can get talent. Certainly they've got talent. I'm not watching him closely enough to really, except for the final scores. I mean, his defense has been atrocious and his offense was non-existent this past weekend. But, I mean, he played without his starting quarterback. So see what happens the rest of the way. I think their goal now will be just to make it to a decent bowl, get a win, and then go recruiting.
And my last question, what is going on with your Packers? Oh, my Lord.
Well,
to lose, I can't wait to hear from Corey Miller this week.
Yeah.
That is going to be the best call of the week.
He'll
and
be
I
here.
just can't wait till he just walks all over you, my man.
Oh, yeah.
And my
I forgot
Jets are
about
3-2.
He's a giant, isn't he? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
and my Jets are 3-2.
Well,
I mean,
you're about to get your
be
teeth
knocked upside the head.
You're
my
about to
man.
get your
maybe
teeth
I'll
kicked
punch him
in.
in the face.
You're about to get your teeth kicked in this Sunday at Lambeau. Okay, you're going to be eating some frozen tundra, not frozen, but you're going to be eating some tundra because we're mad. We're pissed. Rodgers is pissed. He doesn't like what he's hearing in the locker room from some people. Yeah, you're about to get obliterated. You think the Mets suck? Wait till you see what happens to the Jets. Mets, Jets, and even the Nets. If the Nets were playing, it would happen to them too.
He needs to take the whole
Jets,
team and put
Nets.
he needs to take the whole team, put them on a charter flight to Peru, and let them all do the ayahuasca. Bring them back, and maybe they'll play a little bit better.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Y'all have a great day. Great day. Go Cox. I can't believe we won the
Thanks,
game.
Andy.
And appreciate it. Chris, good reporting. And I got to say, Pat, your article was the best I've seen in a long time
I
regarding these football.
I agree. Absolutely.
Things. Y'all should be sending Pat to
Thank you
more
for that,
games, do more. You're more than
Agreed.
welcome to do more because Pat is a very big, essential asset you're not taking enough advantage of.
Is this your
evening.
cousin?
I appreciate you saying
No,
that, Andy, and now I will not make fun of your mess.
All of a sudden, y'all related? All right, Andy, thank you very much. I want to squeeze this in real quick. Can we squeeze this in real quick? Chris, you want to set this up? We mentioned Jamie Chadwell.
Oh, yes.
When I'm talking about the Packers
All right, of
sucking,
course.
I just, 2 weekends ago, he was mad at Georgia State. And basically called them dirty. I mean, just came out right out and said dirty. Well, he didn't say dirty, but he alluded to his belief that they were dirty. Now, set this up
And
for
he
us.
may not be wrong.
But this is your
Yeah, he may
interview
not be
with him
wrong.
after the game Saturday night.
Yeah, and he may not be wrong with regards to Georgia State because they had the same type circumstances surrounding their matchup with Georgia Southern this past weekend. But after Coastal beat Louisiana Monroe, I get a chance to catch up with Coach on the field during the road games. Doesn't have sort of the typical press conference setting. We get a one-on-one with him after the games. And he was obviously really happy with his offense in the first half, not so much in the second half, really happy with his defense in the second half. But he had sort of a different adjective to describe his team's play on Saturday.
Here we go.
We're thankful for the win. I told the team this. Offense was awesome in the first half. They sucked in the second half. Defense sucked in the first half, off in the second half. And our special team just sucked, period. And so that's a capital S-U-C-K. Kicking was off, atrocious. But overcame a bunch of penalties, some maybe questionable, and found a way. It's hard to win in this league. We've said that. We did enough. We came off the end zone when we needed to there and they had field position the whole second half. And I'm thankful for the win. I'm ready to get back to Conway.
Yeah, sucked in the second half. And the special teams just sucked, period. Were they really bad on special teams?
They were, especially punting. They actually had maybe 2 punts that went less than 20 yards. They had one 7-yard punt late in the game when they needed to pin them back inside the 10-yard line. But, yeah, they struggled on special teams, and that's unusual for them to do so. But, yeah, he was not obviously happy with his offense in the second half, didn't score. I can't remember the last time Coastal did not score offensively in the second half because they put so much emphasis on the fourth quarter. And defensively, after getting run up and down the field in the first half, they came out and looked like the 85 Bears in the second half. They made a critical stop, actually 2 of them inside the 15 to win the game. So it's a crazy ball game on Saturday at Louisiana Monroe, to say the least.
All right, let's hit another quick phone call before we hit the top of the hour. It's Gamecock Larry over in Swansea. GL, welcome in. How are you?
How you doing, Mr. Phil?
We're doing terrific.
I got to talk to them Cat fans. Wildcat Earl. I'm going to call you Little Kid Earl. Kentucky Joe. Coach Hoops to Stoops. Boy, you called me all last week, all during the night from restricted numbers, leaving me messages. How the pot was boiling. One of them was getting ready for the chicken stew. Hi, boy, I tell you, them Beamer boys came up there. They put that fire out, and they came back to Columbia, South Carolina, with a little kitten. And I can't get one of you Cat fans to call me. But let me tell you something. Coach Hoop Stoop, well, you done got our boys fired up. We come up there with the intention of winning, and we won. And
winning, you did. Yes, they did. And I hope your buddy from Kentucky doesn't call you in the middle of the night anymore. He should learn his lesson. Be right back.
Before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Republicans in Texas have high hopes they'll be able to crack a Democratic stronghold in that state, Hispanics. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he'll personally work to ensure GOP success in the Rio Grande Valley.
We are going to turn the Rio Grande Valley red. We're going to win Republican races up and down the valley. That's right. There's been no governor in the history of Texas who's been to the RGV more than I have. I'm going to keep coming all the way through Election Day and turn RGV red.
Republican Congresswoman Myra Flores' victory in a special election this year, becoming the first Texas Latina in the U.S. House, reflected the shifting ground. Likely 2024 presidential contender and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is criticizing President Biden for his response to Russia's war in Ukraine.
Pompeo says when it comes to the U.S. response,
we have been just slow and late and short.
Short on delivering the weapons and supplies Ukraine needs to push back Putin's offensive.
They haven't asked for our kids. They haven't asked for our soldiers or Marines. They've simply asked us to provide them the tools they need, and they'll do the fighting.
A fight Pompeo is certain Ukraine can win with enough material support from the U.S. to send a clear and convincing message to Putin.
This is much more likely to bring this fighting to a close.
Pompeo was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. Bob Agnew reporting.
A small business advocacy group has filed a new lawsuit seeking to block the Biden administration's efforts to forgive student loan debt for tens of millions of Americans. The suit filed Monday by the Job Creators Network Foundation argues the Biden administration violated federal procedures by failing to seek public input on the program. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 93 points, the Nasdaq dropped 110, the S&P lower by 27, oil down to 91.13 a barrel. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You know how much you're really paying for life insurance through work? I can almost guarantee you're overpaying for limited coverage. I'm Joel Clark, a Select Quote agent for over 20 years. My clients are shocked to learn how expensive life insurance at work really is because of a rate that's driven up by unhealthy people. Why pay more when you don't have to? For over 35 years, Select Quote has helped people save 50% or more by shopping highly rated insurance carriers. I found a 40-year-old man with high blood pressure, a $500,000 policy for only $18 a month. Don't procrastinate. Workplace open enrollment will be here soon. Let SelectQuote save you money and get you the coverage you need to protect your family.
For your free quote in just minutes, call 1-800-865-2266. That's 1-800-865-2266. 1-800-865-2266. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Full details on example policy and carrier ratings at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Price could vary by health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Workers at the site of a major complex of refineries crucial for Iran's massive offshore natural gas field have protested over the death of the 22-year-old woman Mahsa Amini.
The demonstrations at Asalawaya mark the first time the unrest surrounding Amini's death has threatened the coffers of Iran's oil and gas industry. While it remains unclear if other workers will follow, the protests come as demonstrations rage on in cities, towns and villages. Activists say at the beginning of this week, the sound of apparent gunshots and explosions have echoed through the streets of a city in western Iran, while security forces reportedly killed one man in a nearby village. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The U.S.'s third largest railroad union rejected a deal with employers Monday, renewing the possibility of a strike that could cripple the economy. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy skies with a low temp dipping to 58. Tomorrow, a great-looking fall day with sunshine all day and a high temp of 74. Looking ahead, the best chance for a rain day comes on Thursday. It's early, but the weekend looks great with sunny skies ahead and high temps in the low 70s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk on this very busy Monday night, the Monday after all the football, the baseball playoffs. Great race at the Roval. What about all that happening in the standings there at the very end? That's what the playoffs are about for NASCAR. Great job, NASCAR, with that race and the way things were changing, and it was dicey and sitting on the edge of your seat. And I thought it was great. I thought it was a great race. A lot of bumping and banging there down the stretch. It was also the Sunday that the Shrine Bowl for this year was announced. Yes, back to the Shrine Bowl this year. Happy that the game is being resumed. And Coach Jerry Brown's going to join us in just a second. But what we like to do, of course, is if you haven't had a chance to look at the roster, want to go over the Sandlapper roster very quickly. Then we'll welcome Coach in and get his thoughts about the team he and the staff have put together. So, listed alphabetically at wide receiver, Zion Agnew, Ridgeview. Offensive lineman, Marquis Anderson, Dorman. Linebacker, Cameron Avery of Cane Bay. Defensive back, DJ Barksdale, South Point. Offensive lineman, Jeremy Brown, West Side. Receiver, Tyler Brown, Greenville. Long snapper, Gannon Burt, Fort Mill. Receiver, Zanday Butler of Wilson. Receiver, Elijah Caldwell, Northwestern. Offensive lineman, Cooper Campbell of Burns. Tight end, Mekhi Campbell, Lower Richland. Defensive back, Landon Danley of Dutch Fork. Receiver, Andrew Danton, Spartanburg. Kicker, Daniel Deneen, St. James. Offensive lineman, Monroe Freeling of Oceanside. Defensive back, Zaire Gamble of Sumter. Linebacker, Christine Carlin of Ashley Ridge. Offensive lineman, DJ Geth of Dorman. Defensive back, Michael Gilliard of Myrtle Beach. Running back, Jarvis Green of Dutch Fork. Receiver, Sudarian Harrison of Woodland. Defensive back, Michael Jenkins of Somerville. Linebacker, Amari Jenkins of Timberland. Receiver, Noah Jennings of Westwood. Quarterback, Raheem Jeter, Spartanburg. Defensive lineman, outside linebacker, Nathan Johnson of Gaffney. Defensive lineman, DeAndre Jones, Fort Dorchester, and Shanique Jones of Camden. Defensive back, Myson Kelly of Daniel. Offensive lineman, Jordan Knox, Northwestern. Linebacker, Brayshawn Littlejohn, Gaffney. Defensive lineman, Chris Mariable, Hilton Head. Tight end, Desmond Mathis of Fort Dorchester. Defensive lineman, Xavier McLeod, Camden. Linebacker, Noah Quinn, Broome. Defensive lineman, Montague Rames of Manning. Linebacker, Mikey Rosa of Wando. Quarterback, Lenora Sellers, South Florence. Offensive lineman, Bryce Smith, Daniel. Running back, Marquez Spells of Somerville. Offensive lineman, Jaquan Sprinkle, Orangeburg Wilkinson. Offensive lineman, Andrew Threat. Make that Threat or Threat? Probably Threat. Offensive lineman, Andrew Threat of Chesterfield. Defensive back, Thomas Williams of Powdersville. And linebacker, Cooper Zonner from Clover. With that, we welcome in the head coach of the Sandlappers this year. Been waiting a few years to get his chance to run this team because of COVID and other delays. We welcome in Coach Jerry Brown to the program. Coach, good evening. Great to have you with us. How are you?
Thank you very much. Doing fine.
So, what's your take on your team? How do you feel about the roster you and the staff put together?
The staff had a lot of input on it because I was very tied up. My wife's been in the hospital 30 days since May. A couple of illnesses there, and of course with the team too. But I feel good about the staff. They've had probably picked 80%, 90% of them. But we got a good, some good players from all over the state. And I think offensively, I'm excited about the skill guys. And also we got some nasty offensive linemen. Again, we got some people on defense I think it'll be pretty hard to block, and some DBs that can cover the secondary pretty well.
Well, knowing you, and just to hear you describe them, nasty offensive linemen, I mean, that's sort of how you've kind of made your living over the years, having good quality offensive linemen up front. What do you like about this group as a whole?
Well, the offensive lineman, what you're looking for there is people that come off the football and hit people, and not only hit people, they enjoy it. They don't want to just block you. They want to demoralize you. And they keep after you until the whistle blows, and that's the nasty part. They're looking to make contact the whole time. They love contact. That's something you can't make kids do is love hitting. You can make them hit, but you can't make them love it.
And these guys obviously love it. And you got some highly touted and guys who are committed to major programs. So you got some talent there. Let's go to the quarterbacks. What'd you like about the quarterbacks? How good overall in the state was it? Looking at the quarterbacks and the ones you settled on, what'd you like most about them?
It was an excellent year, and like I said, there were two or three other quarterbacks that were very good also. But in the end, of course, the one that stood out the most was Sellers, Lars Sellers from South Florence. He brings a lot of skill and a lot of different things. He can run the ball. He's a big guy, probably 6'3", big guy. He can throw. He can run. And when you get that running quarterback, that's like having 12 men on the field. And again, Jeter from Spartanburg and bringing his receiver on too, I think is real good. They're real good in the clutch, but he's also just a very great competitor. But I really like the two quarterbacks. The running backs, again, Spells from Somerville, people up there may not understand, but he kind of reminds you of Andre Ellis. He's not a big guy, but he's the least afraid guy to run inside the tackles we had. A lot of the running backs are just outside people nowadays, but I like Spells. He doesn't need much of a hole, kind of remember Andre Ellis, but once he gets going, he's gone. Mm-hmm. He'll change a game in a heartbeat because he's really a breakaway threat inside the tackles, and you don't see that very often. But Green's a good guy too. Jarvis is an excellent running back, and he's good inside or out, and both of them catch the ball very well too.
What do you want to run offensively, and what can you run on defense? What scheme?
Well, again, we stick to the 3-4 on defense. The 3-down lineman, of course, what's going to happen there is your nose guard with the center is critical. We paid a lot of attention to the center we got. Because your war daddy is going to be over the center, and right up the middle, they're going to be strong with the linebackers. That's what we try to do. Offensively, we're going to probably be in 4 wides and 3 wides. We got 7 receivers, and then we got 2 tight ends. So we'll run 3 wide with the tight end or H-back, and also 4 wides.
Jerry Brown, the head coach of the South Carolina Sandlappers for the upcoming Shrine Bowl. Good to have it back. It'll take place up in Spartanburg on Saturday, December the 17th at 1 o'clock. And, Coach, I'm curious because this, I think, is probably once the rosters are announced and everybody's excited about the players, the next thing that comes are the players that fans believe should have been on that aren't. Can you give us an idea as to how the process and the selection process works for you guys to whittle down an entire state down to, 40 players to get ready for the Shrine Bowl?
Yes, sir. Well, people, there must have been 200 players recommended, so you just start looking at video. And, sometimes I can look at it. I can remember Rusty Williams, I had at running back. Lou Holtz looked at him for about 1 minute and said, "You can turn it off because he's second best running back in the nation." And so a lot of times it's a quick look and you got the real deal. Same thing with offensive linemen. I can tell you, offensive linemen coming off the ball and a headhunter and being nasty and real quick. And then sometimes it's the other way around too. You look and that's not quite what you're looking for. They're not coming off the ball or just kind of ho-hum blocking. And the same thing with the running back. I found out with Andre and Bruce, mainly Bruce Ellington, what I'm looking for offensively is somebody can dominate the game where the whole game's about them. And those are the kind of skill guys you're looking at that dominate the high school football game. I don't look at highlights because anybody can have a highlight, but I want to see the game and who's the defensive player that's dominating the game and who's the offensive player that's dominating the game. And those are the kind of guys you got to have. Of course, that's what the college is looking for too. But that's kind of what we were looking for.
So when you're trying to size up the Sandlappers team, is it to get the best representation from Class 5A all the way through Class 1A, or do you guys in the Shrine Bowl just pick the best players from our state regardless of where they play?
That's the thing about the Shrine Bowl. You're just looking for the best players. You just want to win. But at the same time, the upper classifications, they have an advantage because they play real tough opponents, and it's hard sometimes to imagine a single A or double A running back or offensive lineman in a 5A Shrine Bowl type situation. It's just a little different, and that's unfortunate, but it is the way it is. We're just picking the best people.
Yeah. Did there used to be a rule that you had to have at least one representative from each class, or am I forgetting something?
That's the North-South game.
Okay.
You have to have, I think, one from each region in each classification. You have to have one from each region.
Mm-hmm.
That's the North-South game.
Gotcha. One thing I also noticed, too, is that typically head coach will have somebody from his team on the roster, but I don't see any Stags on there.
No, sir. Like I say, you look at it, we are what our record says we are. And, we really haven't had a chance. When I first got there, we had 25 people feel quarantined for 2 weeks in the first part of the season. The last part of the season, we ended up having 11 concussions. I don't know where you get 11 concussions. I'll never know. We had 14 people, starters, not even dressing for the game. Another 6 not dressing for practice. So, those guys last year never had a chance. And this year it's going to be the same thing. So, again, we've been playing with backups the whole 2 years I've been down here. And that's just not good. The talent level, we just don't have you run through cycles like that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you've got to develop players from the 8th grade on. And my concern is right now developing the players. We've got 70 players out for our JV. We've got 55 out for our B team. So we've got up to 200 players that we're developing. Like I said, our JV team and B team aren't like my seniors last year and this year. They didn't have B teams and JVs like we have, and really coaching hard and the head coach out there getting to know them. I met with my B team every 3 days a week 2 days a week this past summer, and my B team players know me, and that's how you develop a program.
Yep, got to have the feeder system, got to have the young guys coming up and learning your way. By the time they get to you, they're ready to go. Last thing, what'd you think of the North Carolina team? You know much about their guys and what they'll put on the field?
To be honest with you, I hadn't even looked at it because I've been worried about us and what we're doing and my wife and the whole 9 yards. So, again, I know they'll do a good job. And like I said, our problem is us, not them.
Gotcha. Well, first of all, we wish you the best with your wife. Hope everything works out well there and she gets healthy real soon and you can totally focus on your job with the Stags and with this team. And we thank you for your time as always, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Jerry Brown, head coach of the Sandlappers. That is the one team, that is the one team in our state every year we can all root for, right?
That's a great point. Yes,
there's no Tigers, no Gamecocks, no Shants, no Bulldogs, no nothing else. It's the Sandlappers. It's the team representing South Carolina against the evil North Carolina. And, if it weren't for North Carolina, we would be just one big state of South Carolina. We'd still call ourselves South Carolina, but we just wouldn't have a North Carolina.
We can be like Ohio State, Michigan, talk about that team up north.
That team up north, yeah. All right, thank you, Coach.
I'll tell you what about Jerry Brown, though. That guy is no nonsense. That's the first time I've had a chance to chat with him. Boy, he is straight down the middle. I predict, and especially considering I've seen our roster and I know how good they are, I predict us having no problems beating that team up north with him at the helm. Good grief.
Quick question for you on StreamYard, Mr. Chris, from our buddy Ted. Coastal Carolina didn't score in the second half. 3 question marks. How's that possible with the so-called best quarterback in the state? Chris, looking for your answer. You said he was the best quarterback in the state, right? And that was with 5 question marks. And then there's a follow-up, Chris, with 4 question marks.
Well, I agree. They had a subpar second half. There's no question about it. Hard to argue, though, that Grayson McCall, who going into that game was 3rd nationally in passing efficiency, that he's not the best quarterback in the state because the first 2 weren't Spencer Rattler and DJ Uyunglele. Now, again, they struggled. It happens. And as you heard Coach Chadwell say, they didn't just struggle, they sucked. And so, that's an unusual circumstance for them. I would anticipate that not to continue. But, I still stand by that statement. I think Grayson McCall can play anywhere, anytime.
And just to piggyback on what you're saying, Chris, and for Ted out there, let's also remind him that the Green Bay Packers, who have the 2-time defending MVP, Aaron Rodgers, they only scored 2 points on a last-second safety in the second half yesterday against the Giants, but nobody's calling
Why are you bringing that up? Why are you bringing that up now?
Because if he's,
I already talked about it. I already expressed my disgust.
It's a direct comparison, though. If we're questioning Grayson McCall as a quarterback, then that would mean you'd question Aaron Rodgers. And he's a 2-time defending MVP.
Panthers fan, and you're talking about the Packers losing.
You don't even realize I'm giving Aaron Rodgers a compliment here, do you?
No, you're trashing me.
I literally just complimented him that entire phrase, and you didn't even get it.
Twitter mentioned from
must
Scott.
Really not like Coastal Carolina.
Really?
I mean, he must be. There's no question. He must really not like CCU.
Let me address this. Scott on our Twitter mention says, "I've been thinking since Phil was on his rant about the Clemson players and the wreck. How about Clowney going 110 in a 70, and 3 weeks later, 84 in a 55? He played in Capital One Bowl 6 days later. Now, I know he didn't hurt no one, but he still did stupid things. Yeah, was that in the news? Was he arrested? Did he get speeding tickets? I think he did.
I think he got cited.
Yeah.
I think he did get a traffic violation.
He's right. I
speeding
mean,
ticket
that's
for that, if I'm not
stupid.
mistaken. Yeah,
But he didn't hit
no
anybody.
question. But
Fortunately
the
for
key
him,
is
he
exactly,
didn't crash into anybody. Yeah, there's a difference.
He did not cause an accident.
Right,
Mhm.
right. All right, thank you for all those comments. And after the break, we'll continue with your phone calls, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. We got recruiting coming up. Zach Willis, I know for a fact that Zach has been breaking down the video of the Gamecocks and the Tigers games. He'll share his insight on what was good and what was bad when we have 1st and 10 with Zach Willis coming up. And we will also, did I say recruiting? We'll also drop in some recruiting information for you as well. Back after this break on Sports Talk. Don't go away. Hi, this is Phil Kornblut of Sports Talk here with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. What words of wisdom do you have for those hitting the water this summer?
Phil, collisions can be prevented easily if every vessel operator fulfills 3 major responsibilities. 1, practice good seamanship. It's the responsibility of every boat or PWC operator to take all necessary action to avoid a collision. 2, keep a proper lookout. Failing to keep a sharp lookout is the most common cause of boating collisions. And finally, maintain a safe speed. Remember, boat safe, boat smart.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
All right, back on Sports Talk. I want to send out our condolences to the family of Eddie Lydecker. Dennis Brunson just informed us of this sad story. Eddie, a longtime sports stringer for the Sumter Item, passed away yesterday after being hit on the sideline of the Lakewood at Lake City game. Suffered a broken leg, was at McLeod's, was going into surgery, had a blood clot break loose, went to the heart, unable to revive. He was 56. So sorry to hear that news. So sorry. Yeah, that's very sad news. Our condolences to the family, and thank you, Dennis, for that information. All right, we go back to the phones. Tiger Brian in Lancaster. Tiger Brian, not to be outdone by Gamecock Larry. Tiger Brian. Everybody's got to have a nickname these days. Tiger Brian, welcome in. How are you?
Man, you know, I got mine.
I want you and Gamecock Larry to get together for a meal one day.
Nah, hell, you know that ain't gonna work. But you know, I've been Tiger Brown for 25 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got mine patent. I got T-shirts and everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're a real deal. You're the real deal.
Oh, all right. Every time I go somewhere, man, you Tiger Brown.
Mm-hmm. You are the real
you know what?
deal.
Hey, I put the people to listen to y'all because y'all true what y'all say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Y'all don't be, you know. Hey, what about them Cowboys? My Cowboys. I know you don't want to hear that Green Bay.
You know that bubble's going to pop. In fact, we got y'all coming to our place in a couple of weeks. We might pop it for you.
You better hope. Hey, Rush is the man.
Cooper Rush. Every time you say the word Cooper in the NFL, you think of Cooper Kupp. How many people have had to catch themselves and correct themselves when they say Cooper Rush?
Yeah. I ain't never heard of him either, Corn. I'm gonna be honest with you. But he played his heart out. I got to give him credit. You know, yeah, and
Central Michigan. He went to Central Michigan.
Yeah, right. I mean, he didn't have a chance. Nowhere, really. Yeah. But you know what? These Gamecock players, fans, hey, yeah, it was a good win. But look, if Kentucky had their quarterback, they wouldn't have won that game. You know that.
Well, I can't honestly say I know that.
Well, I do.
I think Kentucky would have had a little bit more offense, probably a good bit more offense.
Right.
But you got to play, you got to dance with who you bring to the ball.
Ain't lying. Yep. Hey, what about DJ? He's got the most touchdowns and interception ratio in the nation. 24-2 or something like that. He's over the Golden Boy from his percentage Ohio State, Stroud. Yep.
He did throw a bad pick against BC there in the first half.
Right,
but he's picked it up. He's picked it up. He's done. He's done much better. Done much better.
You think you Gamecock's gonna be able to cover the points?
Let me ask those Gamecocks. Gamecocks on the line.
I had to pick on you now.
Come on now, Tiger Brian. You know better than come here with that kind of mess. Come on.
I'm picking on you, man. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
and Tiger Brian, to your point, since Ted brought this up a moment ago, Grayson McCall's 15 touchdown passes to 1 interception. DJ Oyangale, 14 TDs to 2 picks. So both of them having very good years.
Overall, he's got 24 rushing and passing. Yep.
He's having a good year. Is he a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate in your humble opinion?
No, I didn't say that. I just want him to keep playing better than he did last year.
Well, let me tell you, right now he's 25-1. CJ Stroud is 4-5. Hendon Hooker is 7-1. Caleb Williams 12-1. Uyunglele comes in at 25-1. Championship odds. This is from Bet Online. Ohio State's 2-1. Georgia's 11-5. Alabama's 13-5. Clemson and Michigan are 14-1. Southern Cal 20-1.
Well,
so get your money down, Tiger Brian. Get that money down quick.
I'm not putting no money on nothing like that. You know, against me, Deshaun Watson couldn't win the national championship. He won the national championship. He didn't win the Heisman. Trevor Lawrence, our quarterback, he didn't win the Heisman. He won the national championship. I don't need him to win the Heisman. I just need him to take care of business and win every game here on out.
Yeah, I think Clemson was weren't they robbed twice? Seriously, I'm trying to remember who they lose to. Who beat Watson out that year? Anybody remember? And who beat Lawrence out? I know Pat
Derrick Henry 1 year. Derrick Henry had a ridiculous year for Alabama.
Yeah. Right. We wasn't robbed now. We wasn't robbed. We just, but we don't play just one player at Clemson. Remember this, we play defensive players. We play offensive running backs. It's when Dabo says all in, it's all in, baby. Yeah.
Okay, Tiger Brian. Okay.
Florida State better get ready. We come down there in Tallahassee. We're going to do some Tallahassee.
Where's that game being played again?
Tallahassee. We're going to keep that.
I better. If I type that into my GPS, I might end up in Wyoming or something. All right. Thank you, Tiger Brian. Enjoy. I'll be in how do you pronounce it? Tallahassee? I'll be there.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy skies with the low temp dipping to 58. Tomorrow, a great-looking fall day with sunshine all day and a high temp of 74. Looking ahead, the best chance for a rain day comes on Thursday. It's early, but the weekend looks great with sunny skies ahead and high temps in the low 70s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
You've seen the news. You've talked to your friends. You may have even looked around yourself. Home prices are nuts. Seems like no one is offering any kind of discount, except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Southwest Florida is looking ahead toward the long slog of recovering from a rare direct hit by a major hurricane. The major search for victims of Hurricane Ian ended over the weekend, and residents returned to a decimated Fort Myers Beach. An army of 42,000 utility workers has restored electricity to more than 2.5 million businesses and homes. But having power isn't much use to people whose mobile homes were flooded and are likely a total loss. Republicans are making an aggressive play to win races among Texas's mostly Hispanic southern border in November's midterms. The rare sight of contested races on the Texas border has widened cracks in an important Democratic stronghold. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 93 points, the Nasdaq dropped 110, the S&P lower by 27. More details at srnnews.com.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. Family owned, they've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on ShootersChoiceSC.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, ShootersChoiceSC.com. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
Everyone seems to be hiring these days, but are they good jobs where there's potential for growth? What about on-the-job training and competitive wages, including health insurance and a 401k plan? Professional Printers is looking for their next star. They're a local printer with 2 locations, 130 employees, and a national clientele. If you've got a good attitude, want to learn some great skills, and work in a positive environment, reach out on ProPrinters.com or apply in person at 301B Greystone Boulevard.
We've all seen the damage Mother Nature can do with the wind and the storms. Trees come down or need to come down. Damage needs to get cleared. That's where All Southern Tree Care comes in. Josh and his team specialize in tree cleanup, trimming, tree removal, and even stump grinding. These are not backyard projects. They need to get done by a professional. Call All Southern Tree Care right now at 606-8724. That's 803-606-8724.
Owning your home is still the American dream.
It might not be today, but we want to help you get ready for the biggest financial purchase most of us will make.
Your Way Home every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. with Erica Hill West and John Hinks Jr.
That's Your Way Home with Erica and John. Tuesdays at 9 on 100.7 The Point.
right, time for 1st and 10 with the coach, Zach Willis. Had the pleasure of having some lunch, Zach and Sarah, and met the kids yesterday on my way back from Kentucky. Delicious tomahawk steaks were served, cooked up perfectly, smoked deliciously. And I had a little bit more this afternoon, Coach. Great to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. I'm kind of still digesting that tomahawk rib.
That thing was huge. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Man, that thing was huge. And I hope that the beef came from South Carolina. South Carolina Beef Council would be very proud of the production of that steak, I would say.
I think it most likely did come from South Carolina. Where else could something that good come from?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's great to have you with us. And we'll start with the Gamecock since I was up in Kentucky and you live about maybe 90 minutes from Lexington. So, yeah, state of Kentucky were big. The fans were big on the Wildcats, justifiably so. Then they go and lose to tough one at Ole Miss. Quarterback goes down. No starting quarterback against the Gamecocks. Gamecocks go in there and they did what they needed to do to win that ball game. What'd you see as maybe some of the strongest points for the Gamecocks in their performance? What'd you take away?
Well, I'm going to talk as a coach for a minute so nobody get mad. But they saw an opportunity and they capitalized on it. You know, Kentucky. You said Kentucky was reeling from losing a game they should have won at Ole Miss, and then they lose their starting quarterback and the leader of that football team. And let me say this: how many times have we seen teams have opportunities like this and blow them? Okay, South Carolina has not faltered this year. When they had a chance in a winnable game, they won it every time. You know, they got outmatched by the two teams they were beaten by. Fine, I have no problem with a coach as a coach with that. I'm very, very impressed with their ability to capitalize on opportunities. They take advantage, and I'm gonna tell you this: you build a great foundation when you can capitalize on other people's mistakes, and you can win some massive ball games down the road, especially as you get better as a football team. Just look up the road at Clemson. They're one of the most opportunistic football teams in the country and have been for the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
And South Carolina has shown that this year. So one thing has remained constant. So I wanted to lead with that because that is a very, very subtle but an extremely rare and important element in building a good program.
Yeah, you got to win the games that you should win, and maybe the game that you're and look, they were a double-digit underdog going into Kentucky before the injury came out about Levis on Thursday night. And then, of course, the line moved considerably. Still, they were a 6-point underdog. So still, Vegas thought with home field and with what was left of the Kentucky team and with a healthy running back in Rodriguez and their history of running the ball against South Carolina, Vegas probably thought that would be a winning formula for Kentucky. But, I mean, the Gamecocks just took that game over in the second half. And I thought Satterfield had some very good, critical offensive calls that aided the Gamecock calls in that victory.
The screen pass was really well blocked where they scored the 42-yard screen pass. I thought was good. I thought they went for a fourth down. They shouldn't have gone for it. These coaches today have no original thought, and I'm not talking about him. You and I talked about this, and I got to bring it up. All this analytic stuff is getting coaches fired. I mean, going for it on fourth down, Arkansas did it. Several different teams, LSU, Brian Kelly, changed the entire game, as you really put it, Phil, when we were talking. In case folks don't know, me and Phil talk a lot on Saturday about football. But the thing is that it's common sense stuff. Folks are coming up to me, texting me on the street up here in Kentucky, which I'm walking pretty proud this week. But the bottom line is, the man on the street can say, you don't need to go for a fourth down when you kick a field goal in a lot of situations because of here's the thing. They go, well, the diagnostics say this. Well, you know, if you're playing Vanderbilt or you're probably take Iowa Model, you Clemson, you're playing Furman, you want to go for it on 4th and 3 on your own 43. You probably still shouldn't do it. But in those situations, you got a shot. You don't do that against Alabama. You don't do that against 15th ranked Kentucky team. You don't do that against South Carolina now. It's not smart, but I'll say this. I thought Satterfield probably had one of his better games calling. They had those kids ready to play, though. We go back to the comments you made about confidence building off the two, mid-major and one AA games, Charlotte and South Carolina State. And you have to say at this point that the staff succeeded in changing the mentality and raising the confidence level because they played hard and they played fast. Lloyd ran just as hard in this game, looked just as good as he did against those teams. How about South Carolina's defensive line? I mean, they eclipsed their sack total in one game and exposed Kentucky's offensive line considerably. You got to give Jimmy Lindsey and that crowd, 5 stars out of 5 for the performance that defensive line put. Tonka Hemingway had several incredible effort plays on screens, not just the sacks, but then retracing his steps, chasing running backs down, 15 yards downfield, things we haven't seen since the Spurrier era at South Carolina, at least the early Muschamp era when they were upset Michigan in a bowl game. So I'm not a huge bandwagon guy, but here's the thing. You got to be objective. And with 6:53 to go in that ball game, it's 24-7. That game's over. South Carolina put them away. And like you said, that stadium started clearing out, and those folks don't clear out very often like that.
Yeah.
Especially this year, as good as they were. So it's a great win for South Carolina. You just have to give them credit, man. They did an excellent job. The kids played hard, and they took advantage of a situation and capitalized and won going away.
Pete Lembo, we were talking about him. You're a big fan. He's got that special team doing some special things, and you knew him from his Division II head coaching days. He's a different character, no question about it. But what is it that you like so much about him?
Well, he's just a great football coach. He was actually, when he took, Elon was an FCS. They had a quarterback they developed up there and had some phenomenal football teams, went deep into the 1AA playoffs, had some huge wins there. He went to Ball State, beat Indiana, beat some other Division I major schools there. And he decided, I think he got maybe burned out. He did get fired at Boston College, at Ball State. One of my best friends was his D-line coach, and he talked about what a great football mind he had. He's also an excellent offensive mind as well as a great special teams coach, great developer of quarterbacks. He just has a track record that you have to respect. And he's a great hire. He's a shoulder that all those young coaches can lean on there. And I don't know if anybody else. I'm no disrespect. That's not Beamer ball. That's Pete Lembo, who's a special teams coordinator, and he's not going to take credit. And of course, the media loves it, and that's fine. But man, he's done a heck of a job, and he's capable of really elevating South Carolina. And I think he's a big part of what's going on there. But you got to give them all credit this week. This is a big, big win for them, in my opinion.
First and 10 with Zach Willis here tonight and every Monday night here on Sports Talk. And Coach, take us into the mindset of a head coach. So let's make you Shane Beamer for this week. How do you handle a bye week, not having to prepare so much for a team this coming Saturday? Is rest all that much more important this week, or how would you handle what Carolina's got coming up to, say, the next 7-8 days?
Well, what he's done now, and I'm sure he's got a dad who's a legend, is he's got a chance to cement the mindset he wants to take, the approach he wants to take. The kids are going, dang, we went up big 15th ranked team, the top 15 team in the country in most polls, definitely top 20 at their place. And we didn't just beat them, we dominated them, especially the second half. We won every phase of the game, the offensive side, the defensive side, and dominated special teams. We were able to establish the running game and everything. Big played them off a screen game. I mean, they had a lot of positive things. So when he comes back, he can say, guys, look, our approach is working. You're getting better. So the first thing is psychologically develop buy-in. Capitalize on this victory. Milk it for all it's worth this week. Go ahead and start preparing for Texas A&M. Usually what we did was Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday we had light practices, but it was all mental. No hitting, no physical stuff. It's all about recuperation. If anybody's dinged up, and probably more than 3/4 of the team's got something that's bothering them right now, you want to get as healthy as you possibly can, and you want to scout Texas A&M because they're rolling in. I think they got them at Williams-Brice. So this is another opportunity for another huge win psychologically. And it's a winnable football game based on what I saw the other night. Now, it's not going to be easy, but they have that edge right now because they've got that confidence. And then you just got a game plan, and you've got to bury that game plan so deeply in their minds, and you have an opportunity to do it. It's instinctive. So the motivational part's been done. You just need to sink that deeper into them, pounding into their heads. Our way is working. and make those kids believe in what you're doing, the approach you're taking psychologically. That's what I always did. And coming off bye weeks, we usually had some of our biggest wins, to be honest. And if you watch Spurrier, you watch most of the great coaches, those games and Thursday night games are where they really, really were good.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of dominating efforts, Clemson certainly put its foot on Boston College's throat, blew them out up at BC over the weekend, and held them to just, 25 yards rushing. Zach, as you watch that defense continue to develop, and we even talked about the struggles they've had in a couple of ball games, especially Wake Forest in the back end. How much better is that defense getting, say, now than it was even 2 weeks ago against Wake Forest?
I'll tell you this: I really believe that their defensive coordinator is as smart as Dabo said he was, because I've rarely seen defenses, especially Brazil was out. The other big defensive end was out. I think Thomas, number 3, that came back with such a huge game, rushing the passer. I mean, dominating that side of the line of scrimmage, and you don't even have Brazil there. So, they have such incredible depth, and the level of talent on that defense is insane. Those corners don't look like freshmen now. I mean, they're basically giving up nothing right now. It was at 31-3, and they were lucky to get 3 points. Clemson is as well coached and well prepared right now as they've ever been, and their offensive side is very well thought out. Coordination, there's no drop off, and I mean that is a real to lose that many coaches, and to be able to reload from a coaching standpoint. And look at what they're doing schematically, and I could get into it. It'd take an hour, but I mean, they're so sound on that side of the ball right now. And honestly, I think this guy may adjust quicker than they did before. The offense does something to them. They have an answer very quickly. It doesn't take a half. It doesn't take a quarter. And that was the thing we all had always done. They need to make this change. And we went to Syracuse one night and lost, and they never adjusted trips the whole night. They ate them alive, and then they learned after that. They switched it, but not for that game. This guy's making changes literally from one possession to another now. Once he's gotten himself comfortable, he seems to be really locked in. We'll see what happens, but they looked awful good to me, and I give a lot of credit again. We saw 2 great coaching staffs perform. The Palmetto State should be very proud. Those are 2 really, really great efforts by both teams.
Uiagalelei had another complete game. 220 passing, 3 touchdowns, led the team in rushing, 69 yards, didn't score. But didn't get that much out of the running backs. Moffa 36, Shipley 33. Any reason for concern? I mean, are you happy if you're Streeter and you're Sweeney? Are you happy running Uiagalelei that much? The way he's selectively running. I guess they had some predetermined called runs in there as well. But are you happy with that kind of balance in your offense with him throwing and running as much as he is? He had 12 rushes and 32 passes.
Well, honestly, I wondered about Shipley, because Shipley came out and they scored that early touchdown, and he ran like the tank that he is. And Moffa looked great, looked very fresh, and looked fast. But they just didn't get a lot of carries. Now, I will say this. I have often believed Dabo is slick. And what I mean by that is, you see this country guy out there, I can relate to that, but he's a smart cat. He's playing for December. And I really believe that he's got those running backs on what would equivocate to a pitch count.
Mm-hmm.
So many carries, and you got to remember Shipley, man. That the North Carolina State game, and especially the Wake Forest, the greatest 1-yard touchdown run I've ever seen. But he had to be taking a big physical. Wake Forest, as they have proven, is one heck of a football team. And NC State, there's no pushover. So I think probably physically, he's trying to spread the carries out. That's something the NFL's been doing for years. And they're not so much about stats as far as yards are going, but they're doing basically a pitch count to keep these kids healthy for down the road. They still got a trip to Notre Dame. They're rolling into Tallahassee this week. They still got some really tough games ahead of them, and they definitely want to be able to keep them healthy for that. That would be my estimation.
Last thing, we'll let you go. I didn't get a chance to see the game, haven't reviewed it, but a listener has asked me to ask you about the call by Mike Norvell in that ball game against State. Now, I do know that Florida State had a pretty comfortable lead. NC State stormed back, won the game in Raleigh. Norvell apparently went for a touchdown instead of a field goal. And I don't know the circumstances surrounding all that because I spent all day, getting back here. Are you familiar with that, and what's your take?
I have a little bit of, from what I understand, they could have tied the ball game up, I think, and I'm not 100% on that. But it goes back, and the listeners exactly on the same point I'm making here. Coaches are being foolish with these analytics. I mean, Phil, we're talking about, LSU, you're on the inside of the 10-yard, it's an extra point, basically, the chip shot. And, you cut the lead this early in the game. But the big thing psychologically, you have a beautiful drive, you go down against a really good football team you're playing, and it would impact me this way. You're going forward on fourth down. I know Arkansas had first and goal, not to jump around, but another situation, first and goal from the 2-yard line and went forward on fourth and like 1 or 4.5 yard, and they get stuffed. Same thing with Florida State, going forward again in a situation where it benefit them with a field goal. It makes some kids look like the coach doesn't. The coach is panicking. We got to get it now. We won't get back down here. Our defense can't stop them. A million things run through those kids' heads. And remember this, all that matters is what's running through the player's mind. Have you ever seen a coach make a tackle? Have you ever seen him score a touchdown and throw a pass? Not in his coaching days, maybe in his playing days. These guys are monkey see, monkey do coaches. And a lot of coaches are this way. We all know this. The originators, the guys on the cutting edge are the ones that are always winning, are always changing things up and doing things different. You watch Nick Saban run through 3 different offenses and all win national championships with them all. Bear Bryant did it. There's countless. But these are foolish decisions. I'm not going to call the thing at Florida State a foolish decision until I fully review it. But from what I heard, it wasn't a good deal. And they lost a ball game. They were winning the game handily. And, of course, the NC State is a heck of a football team, which makes what Clemson did to them more impressive. But, yes, I mean, I don't understand it. And I know I'm a 54-year-old guy now, 26 years in coaching. I sit here and go, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? Take the points. We never took points off. I remember kicking field goals, and it says half the distance a goal, you'll get a first. No, we'll take the field goal. We'll go kick. That was our mentality. We didn't lose too much doing that.
Nope.
But, hey, who knows?
All right, Coach. Great stuff. We appreciate it. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
My pleasure, guys. Take care.
Thank you, my
Thanks,
friend.
Coach.
All right. And thank you for the 3 pounds of meat.
Yeah, you want to thank him for that. Did you bring enough for the class?
Did I do what?
Did you bring enough for the class?
No, he did not.
Myself.
I'm quite hungry here hearing about it.
It's still what's left of it. I had some for dinner, and what's left of it is still sitting in my refrigerator. It was a 3-meal piece of meat. That's how big it was. We'll be back recruiting after the break.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
All right, got to get the recruiting in here. Not that it's a last thought here. It's a good thought brought to you by Seawells. If Seawells served tomahawk steaks, I guarantee you they'd be really, really good tomahawk steaks like I had up in Kentucky. But they don't serve tomahawk steaks. They do serve, of course, great roast beef and chicken and fish and all kinds of other great meals on their daily luncheon buffet, 11 to 2. So get over there for that. And when you need the best in the catering business, you give Seawells a call. Let them do all the work. Take it off your back. 803-771-7385. They're like a good offensive line. Good offensive line takes the work off the rest of the offense. That is Seawells. 803-771-7385. SeawellsCateringSC.com online. So Clemson offers athlete Myson Kelly, 5'11", 177, last week, a day after he decommitted from Virginia Tech. He's out of Daniel. And, you might think, okay, slam dunk. He said no. His reaction was glad to get it, happy for the hard work he's put in, happy for his family, excited about it. Clemson's been a place he's been to many times over the years, seen a lot of ball games there. He says he wouldn't call it a slam dunk. He's not guaranteed to go there. And he said he still wants to take some other visits and look at some other things. Clemson likes him primarily as a receiver, but he could play defensive back if that helps them and helps get him on the field. Going to go there for the Syracuse game. Also going to go to Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. So Venables likes him. November 19th. Plans to go to Florida for a game. Sooners and Gators haven't offered, but he's got them in the top 3 with Clemson. Has an official to Virginia Tech December 12th. And he plans to set one with Clemson and South Florida. He plans to announce on either December 4th or 5th. 2024 corner Tavoy Fagan of Tampa has Clemson in his final 5 with Alabama, LSU, Florida State, and Miami. And he has set November 20th for his announcement. He has cut Ohio State, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, and North Carolina. 2024 receiver corner Sokovi White, Cartersville, Florida, committed to Georgia. He was there Saturday. He had also drawn Clemson interest and was there for the NC State game. 2026 offensive lineman Bear McWhorter, 6'4", 281, Kingston, Georgia, plans to be at USC for the A&M game. Louisville, Penn State, Tennessee among his early offers. 2025 quarterback Marshall Pritchett of Charleston, offered by Boston College. He was there Saturday. He attends school in Georgia, as does 2025 quarterback Gavin Owens of Piedmont. They both go to Rabun Gap School in Georgia. And Owens was also offered by Boston College. 2024 offensive tackle Cam Pringle Woodland went to Virginia Saturday. 2024 receiver Mazio Bennett of Greenville, as you know, going to announce Sunday. He has set 3 o'clock for the time, and it will be streamed. You can find that on the internet. And 2024 6'4" Cam Scott of Lexington will be making his unofficial visit to Tennessee this coming weekend. That's recruiting. Brought to you by Seawells, also known as Seawells, a.k.a. Seawells. All right, a couple of other final notes to leave you with here as we get ready for a Talking Tuesday. AFCA Division II ranking, Newberry is 17th, and Benedict, for the first time in school history, ranked 23rd. Tigers undefeated, having a great year. And let's see if there's anything else here we need to mention before we leave you. We did that. Matt Rule was fired, if you didn't know.
And defensive coordinator Phil Snow, news coming out too.
What happened to him?
He got fired as well from Carolina.
Okay. We'll talk more about that during the week. I see that Sean Payton is the first name on the list.
They can't afford him because the Saints still have him under contract, or at least the rights to him through next year.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow.